Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining our Interspeech 2021 special session today. My name is Katie Kindle, and I'm the Communications Coordinator at LDC. As most of you know, at LDC, we develop and distribute large data sets for language-related research and technology development that are available through our public online catalog. Today, we'll be discussing recent LDC speech publications and demonstrating catalog search techniques. With me is Denise DePercio, LDC's Associate Director for External Relations. Denise will begin by presenting an overview of LDC's speech resources and a summary of recent speech releases. I'll then demonstrate ways to search the catalog for some of those new publications. By the end of our time today, our goal is that you feel more knowledgeable about LDC's speech resources and also more comfortable and confident about searching our catalog. We are committed to making the catalog the best it can be in both its content and its usability. We'll start with Denise, who will talk about LDC's speech datasets. She heads up LDC's External Relations group, which covers membership, publications, and communications. So it's very possible that some of you have interacted with her at some point. All right, Denise.
Thank you, Katie. It's a pleasure to be here today. We're going to share the screen with you just so we have a few slides about LDC's recent speech resource releases. As most of you know, the LDC catalog grows constantly because we release new data sets monthly. So as of now, we have over 850 holdings, and these are made up of corpora that are developed by researchers from around the world. And of these, approximately 43% are speech data sets, which is a not insignificant amount. Our data sets are of many speech types in many languages. So read, elicited speech, interviews, meetings, broadcast, telephone speech, conversation, some with transcripts and annotation. The data is also collected and recorded in numerous ways and in various locations. So there can be single channel, multi-channel, various microphone arrays and devices, and acoustic conditions. And as I think a lot of you probably know, among our classic corpora, there are classic speech releases that have been very important in the community for developing automatic speech recognition and related technologies. And those include TIMIT, the switchboard telephone collection, the Fisher telephone collections, and CSR continuous speech recognition, which is essentially Wall Street Journal read speech. And if at past Interspeech conferences you've come to visit us at our physical exhibit table, and we're very sad that we're not there this year, but you would know that we usually have a CD that we hand out, which is called a language sampler, which is meant to have a sampling of the different kinds of speech data that we have, different languages, as well as recent releases. So the last publication, the last release of the speech data sampler was the 5th release in 2019, which we made available to everyone at Interspeech in Graz. So if you don't have this latest version of the sampler, it can still be downloaded directly from our catalog. And so among the documents that are in our virtual booth is the documentation for the sampler, and that includes instructions for downloading it. So now we'll move on to current releases and trying to group these by domain. The first is children's speech. You'll see that we have 2 new data sets of children's speech, both of which include collaborative tasks from US students. The first, middle school students working collaboratively on math tasks in the SRI corpus. And the second is students in grades 3 to 5 conversing with a virtual science tutor. We think that these data sets complement some of the other children's speech in our catalog, mainly CMU Kids Corpus, which is a standard children's data set, and the CSLU Kids Speech, both of which have been in the catalog for some time. Another series of releases or grouping of releases are the Call Friend second editions. And the thought behind this actually was to take Call Friend and kind of bring it into the 21st century, to convert the legacy sphere files, which is something that's used in Nist evaluations, to .wav audio files, which many researchers find easier to use, as well as enhancing the documentation and metadata so everyone can have more information about how the calls were placed, as well as speaker metadata. So what you see here are the languages that were covered by the second edition project. This project actually started in 2018 and finished last year. Next, we have Nist Sre Releases, and sorry. And we're very happy. That we've been able to work with Nist now for quite a few almost 3 decades on the speech recognition evaluation, which includes data collection, annotation, administering the evaluation, and then data distribution. The goal has always been for us to be able to release a turnkey package of data, metadata, scoring tools, answer keys, all of that, so that users can replicate what happened in the evaluation. As I think some of you would agree, that goal has not consistently been met over the years, although we think that with our recent releases, we're getting much closer to how we'd like these packages to be released publicly. So in the 2016 and 2018 SRE test set releases, which were released in 2019 and 2020 respectively, you see that there's a significant number of hours that they include dev and test data, as well as trial list keys, metadata, etc. Also last year, we released Mixer 4 and 5 speech, which was the telephone speech source collection for 2008 Nist Sre. There's definitely a longer tail on releasing source collections from the evaluation test sets. There are different reasons for this, but they include the fact that sometimes these source corpora are held back to be used in subsequent evaluations. In any event, we were very happy that Mixer 4 and 5 was able to be released last year. You see that this is quite a substantial package, and that includes speech, interviews, elicitation, and transcript readings. Similarly, for LRE, we have the same goal, that we want to develop a standalone release that's got all of the information that you need to replicate an LRE evaluation. With respect to LRE, our recent releases are of source data, and that is comprised of the multi-language CTS series, which was a telephone collection that focused on language pairs of very similar, or what some people might say were mutually intelligible languages. There were 24 of those. I've listed here, we're listing here what was released in 2019 and 2020. When we finished the series, all the other languages are available in the catalog. But you can see, for instance, for Arabic, 3 different dialects are included for English, American, and South Asian English. East Asian has 2 languages in it, and so on. Another new series of releases are Global Timid. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory that the idea there is that the thought is that the Timid gets expanded to other languages. The collection methodology remains the same. As you see here in the Learner series, Learner Tree Bank English and Learner Simple English, those data sets consist of L1 and L2 English speakers, in one case reading sentences from Tree Bank 3, probably mainly Wall Street Journal sentences, and another reading a subset of Timid sentences. The Chinese releases, one of the Guangdong dialect of Mandarin and another of Mandarin Chinese, involves native speakers reading Chinese GigaWord 5th edition, actually sentences from that corpus. We also have always wanted to increase our holdings in under-resourced languages, and we do have several focusing on West African languages and some others. It was by virtue of IARPA's contribution to LDC of its language packs from the Babel project that enabled us to release corpora of conversational telephone speech and transcripts in 25 languages over the period of 2016 to 2020. So what are listed here are the 2019 to 2020 releases, just to give you a flavor of the range of languages, but you can see what the recent and final releases were in that series. We also added an Indigenous language corpus to the catalog this year. It is in Nahuatl, a particular dialect or regional variation that's spoken in a particular region in Mexico. 190 hours of field recordings and transcripts. The speech occurred in the context of identifying native plants. So it's a very interesting corpus because the plant descriptions are really what the audio is, but the corpus also includes images and documentation about the plants, in addition to dictionary and metadata. We also, in 2021, released our first Icelandic corpus. It's parliamentary speech over 500 hours, and we're very excited about that. It includes transcripts and a pronunciation dictionary. We have some other proceedings, corpora in the speech category. That would be UN proceeding speech released some years ago, which would be several different kinds of proceedings in the 5 UN languages, although there are no transcripts with that particular corpus. Covering just other speech releases that might not fall into any particular category, we have, for instance, collaborative speech in the Columbia Games corpus, clinical speech in the database of Tamil Desarthric speech. The EMA corpus is interesting. It's got 10 hours of articulography and speech data in Mandarin Chinese and some dialects. And then finally, the Polish speech database. So that about finishes it for our overview of recent releases. And I'll turn it back to Katie.
Okay, great. Thank you, Denise. So now we're going to take a moment and, well, not a moment, several moments to take a look at searching the catalog. So before, let me share my screen. Give me 1 second. Before you can start searching the catalog, you need to know where to go to get to the catalog. So first you need to visit our website, which is www.ldc.upenn.edu. And just give me 1 second while I wait for the screen share to allow me to share it. All right, here we go. Gotcha. All right, so hopefully on your screen right now, you are seeing our website. So to get to the catalog searching tools, you want to go down on this left-hand side where we have our quick links, and the catalog is the very first link. And when you come here, you immediately have some options for searching the catalog. You can search by year, which shows all the corpora released in a given year, and it's in date order from top to bottom. You can also search our top 10 corpora for the most distributed LDC corpora. I'll just click on it real quick. You can see here are the top 10. I'm not going to spend any time on this right now, but you can also search by projects, which are LDC-based projects. They're listed by age or in alphabetical order. Ones that are applicable to us now, we were just talking about some of the Nist studies. See, we've done a lot of great projects. Here we go. See, here's the Nist SREs. Here's some information that might be helpful. And of course, we have our search section. And this is where the most useful searches will likely take place. We have a lot of different ways that you can break down your search to really find exactly what you're looking for. So you can search by the publication name if you happen to know it, or by the author. You can also type in the catalog number if you've come across that, or you can enter in some keywords. One of the ways that a lot of people do tend to search the catalog is through the language. So we have all of our languages listed right here in this section. And I want to point out that when it comes to the different dialects, we have macro in parentheses. And when you search something with the macro, you pull up all data sets that are affiliated with, in this case, Arabic. So it includes all the different dialects. It also includes any corpus that has been flagged as being related to Arabic. So we can go down there in reverse date chronological order. So the new ones where we were just talking about down here are located down here. But if you wanted to fine tune that, say you want to just pull up the Egyptian Arabic dialect, then you would go back, and instead of choosing the macro, you would choose Arabic Egyptian. And I'll show you, I always clear when I come back to the search screen. Then you search and you'll see that our list is much more refined. And down here it has the data sets that we were just talking about. Second edition. This is true for many of the languages. I'm just going to take you and show you Chinese as well real quick. So in Chinese, again, you can search the macro version, which includes all of the corpora that have listed Chinese or some subset of Chinese in their catalog entry. But say you were really just, you didn't want all of those options, you wanted to just have Chinese, look at the Mandarin dialect, then you can come here and you can see our list again is more refined, and we can find some of the data sets down here again, the more recent data sets, and see what Denise was just telling us about, the Mandarin, the LDC 2020 SO6, which is right here, the Call Friend second edition, the Taiwanese version. So that's one quick look at searching, sorry, I clicked that wrong, by language. Again, you can also search by year here as well. It's not just on that prior screen that we were on. It might be helpful if you know that your organization is a member of a certain year, or say you are very familiar with what we have in the catalog, but you're not sure what has come out this year, then you can just search specifically for data sets that came out in this year or last year. You can also search the catalog by the DCMI type. For our purposes, talking about our latest speech data sets, one term you might want to choose is sound. So if you click on sound, it'll pull up, whoops, hold on. See, that's why it's good to clear your screen. I still have it on a language. So let's do that again. We'll go back and click on sound. And this is going to pull up all of the data sets that have sound, or it has speech in its catalog description. And also it will pull up if there are transcripts within the file. It'll also include transcripts. So here we have the Wikipedia Spanish speech and transcripts. So this data set includes both speech and transcripts, but not every data set that we have in our catalog includes the transcripts. So we have, this is one that Denise was talking about before, the conversational speech. Okay. This one also includes transcripts. So you want to make sure if you're doing research that you would like both speech and transcripts, you want to make sure you check this catalog entry and make sure that transcripts are included, because not all of these speech data sets will include the transcripts. Okay, and similarly, you can also search by moving image. Sometimes the moving images will also have speech as well. And one thing I would like to point out, if you can see that the catalog ID here has a V, well, the V would stand for video. And before we were looking at all of our sound corpora, and those will be indicated with an S. It's a nice little trick when you're not sure what the data will include, then you can easily pin down that it'll be a speech data set or if it'll be a text. So you can also search by text, and then this will include some of the transcript files if they are separate from a speech data set. So you can see. But often you might want to refine a search like this because it'll bring up, I mean, lots and lots of data sets. Okay. The other way you can also search is by the data source. The ones that would be relevant to speech would be broadcast conversation and broadcast news. Also, there might be microphone speech and conversational speech, meeting speech, and you can always choose more than one thing at a time. So say you wanted to do, I want to look up, let's go to the microphone speech. Say you want to do microphone speech, but microphone conversations, you really just want something with microphones. Oh, that was meeting speech, sorry. Microphone conversations and microphone speech. You can select both of those and then search as well. And this will pull up any of our data sets that have been listed in the catalog description as using a microphone. Okay. Again, we already talked about the research project. So if you were specifically looking for something like Denise mentioned, the Nist LREs and the SREs, you could specifically look at what we have in the catalog. 1 second, I must have something selected. Here we go. You can search here. This will bring up everything related to the Nist SRE projects. And then over here, you can also search by recommended applications. This is helpful if you have a specific research task that you are trying to achieve using our data sets. You can look up, let's see, language identification, and also, well, we'll just start with not language, we'll do speech recognition, sorry. Speech identification and speech recognition. There we go. And this will pull up the data sets that have been listed in their corpus description as being related to these research applications. However, there is some pitfalls in using this method because it's up to the corpus developer to include the recommended applications. So some data sets might have multiple applications, but the data creator has only listed one of them since that's what they used it for. So if you ever are looking for a specific application for your research needs, you can always check with us also and try a few of these other methods with the language to see if you can get a full list of everything that you're looking for. But this can be helpful to at least give you some sense of the data that's available for those applications. I want to just show you a corpus description so that you can kind of see some of the areas that I was referring to. So let's pull up. All right, and we'll go into the, here we go. All right, we'll take a look at this one. So it's the Call Friend Mandarin Chinese Taiwan Dialect Second Edition. That's one of our newer speech data sets that Denise just spoke about moments ago. And here we have, as you can see, the sound type is, the DCMI type is sound. Also, the data source is telephone conversations. And here we have the application listed as language identification. So this is what the search terms are pulling from on the catalog ID when they are pulling that list together. And then, of course, we have related works here, which pulls up any data set that is, it's a version of this, of the earlier Call Friend Mandarin Chinese Taiwan dialect from '96. And it's also similar to these other data sets. This is a very helpful tool when you're looking for other data sets that are similar. And then, of course, we have the full introduction about the data set, the specific information about the data. And then we also have some samples, which you can download onto your computer.
喂 ，Hello， 等一下，你有没有听到？有一个人问我，有啊，对，有一个女的声音，她问你什么？她就问我说这个叫你按一，对不对 ？Public Science Research。对，我也是听到那个。对，可能我就按个一啊。你有听到她在讲话？有啊。哦，
So a small sample of that. And then it also has if there are any updates, and then also down here, you can click on view fees and see that information as well. Right. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. And if you have any questions, well, I'll stop sharing. If you have any questions, feel free to email us and we're happy to help point you in the right direction, or happy to help in any way that we can. And we hope you have a great rest of Interspeech 2021 and that you stop by our virtual booth.
Bye.